the Quran, it was concise. You can understand it, and as it said, Islam is supposed to be easy, so easy to understand, easy to implement into your life. Again, thank you for having me on, man. So, like you said, Jewish Protestant, Jewish Christian, growing up. It's first of all, I want to state mostly it's Jewish, by blood. Religiously, most Jews in America don't really practice much Judaism as like a religion fully. Reading the Torah, seeing everything in it. So, just quick. Yeah, I guess preface there, but it's not something that's like, I guess, uncommonly known, I suppose. It's just how the Jewish community in America really is. It's a lot more about the culture. It's a lot more about, where they all came from, like sort of like just a collective community. So half my family, like you said, is Jewish, and they came from Europe, an immigrant family. I'm first generation myself. Not directly from Israel, just from around Czechoslovakia. But when it came to relationship with God, it really was more of a confusing aspect than anything. Because, I don't know if you know much about Texas, but Texans really, really love their Christianity quite a bit. I lived here for most of my life, and I attended a Christian church with my, Christian parents, and, well, both parents, but, mostly them. And it was just, I suppose, conflicting, as, the glaring difference between, Judaism and Christianity is their disagreement on Jesus and his teachings, a lot of those practices, So it was listening to sermons from pastors of Christian churches, and then doing things like Hanukkah, doing things like Passover, and really not diving too far into either of them, which led me personally to be really, I guess, confused and conflicted. My sister, she absorbed a lot of it and kind of just like, she loved it. She loved that there was two different sides of it. She was like, yeah, this is cool, and this is cool. Yay! But for me, it raised a lot of questions in my mind about what the correct way between these two to worship was, even at a point whether, even to believe in the first place, which was quite, I guess, nerve-wracking for me when I was younger, because, like, if these two things can disagree so heavily, then what am I meant to think, Sort of both at different times. It was kind of one then the other, then back to. At first, it was a lot of questions. This was really something I guess I didn't talk to many people about this. I didn't ask my family about it. It just felt like something they wouldn't help me with. At one point, they really, really tried to push hard religion into me, because it was not in a particularly bad way, not in like but sort of just like, we're gonna go to church a lot more. We're gonna do extra stuff. We're gonna talk to pastors or rabbi at a local temple, and so that led to a lot more questions. So I guess that removes the anonymity. It was my father's side. That is the Jewish side. This was all the way through school, really. This was all the way from elementary school, whenever, having little friends around was everything, and my parents and other schools' parents would try to like, hey, let's let our kids play together, and the parents wouldn't like it. That was quite a recent development, and a pretty, I guess, quite a long story. So the reason I started looking into Islam and religion again in general, quite paradoxically, I guess, was because of a girl I was talking to right after high school. I had just gotten out of this terrible breakup, but we had started talking just like through Instagram. Like, we would just like an Instagram story or something and just like react to it. and we started talking a little more until eventually we were like hanging out in person every once in a while. And we would talk about religion, about that, because obviously, like American dating, Western dating is not what you do, Through her life, she got rather disconnected from Islam, and she always felt really, really guilty about that, about being away from it, about, not praying as much or not making dua as much as she should, and really just having it be not a thing that was forefront in her life. It was something that, we would talk about occasionally, where it was like occasionally I would ask her questions and we would discuss religious ideas, because I, despite being disconnected from religion, I had a lot of backlog of research. I knew a lot about Judaism and Christianity, and I've read through the Bible and I've read through the Torah, and like I know things about, two of the Abrahamic religions, but not this third one, which I had only, since speaking to her, I realized, my goodness, I know really nothing about this world. I know nothing about this massive group of people that I've now come to love so much. At first, it was kind of just like broad strokes, the things that everyone has those kinds of questions about, women's rights, or what about this whole terrorism deal, like where everyone and their mom is talking about like you random Muslim 12-year-old somehow being nefarious, having some kind of, like their parents are telling them something when of course they're not. And she would tell me about that. She would tell me about just how women are really treated in the folds of Islam, and how women we're taught to treat women, and how misconceptions about different words through English translations of the Quran, jihad is a big one. The word jihad immediately being a red flag to people as this, just violent holy war type deal, I suppose. Even though, really, as we know, that word has a lot of other meanings that are quite, the opposite. Just to struggle to endeavor to be better at something, quitting an addiction, trying to do better with your parents. It can be a billion things. Or so a lot of just a lot of stuff kind of like that, about broad strokes of what is this religion, what is the beliefs, who is. Oh, no, not at all. Absolutely not. It felt like it just made sense. It felt like there was reason, there was science backup, there was historical with hadith, intense like verification. Islam just felt like it answered a lot of questions that I had about why Judaism or Christianity didn't fill that need. It felt hollow, like there's missing pieces here. This doesn't feel quite right. Shortly after me getting home, her family would actually move away to Oman. Before they left, her mother, I should say her name, Tanya, by the way, Tanya's mother would gift me a clear Quran. And the Quran kind of just sat on my desk for like maybe a week, until I had heard that Ramadan was coming up this year. It was this past Ramadan, so pretty recently, and I learned the importance of fasting and why that's such a spiritually powerful thing to do. So I opened the Quran. It was sitting there, but then suddenly in my off time I was reading it. I read through about 75% of it by the time that Ramadan came up, and while reading through it, it was really just eye-opening. Honestly, it was. It was answers to questions about just life and existing and your relationship with God. And it was so much more information that could be understood by me than I really had ever expected. If you read Bible, or if you read the Torah, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stories or metaphors. It's kind of like in a lot up to interpretation. But with the Quran, it was concise. You can understand it, and as it said, Islam is supposed to be easy, so easy to understand, easy to implement into your life. And I made the decision a couple days into Ramadan that I would take my shahada. I did on the third day, I think.